This video shows you how to use Excel to plot two linear data sets on the same graph. So sometimes you might have data that you would like to compare. So for example, here I have some information on metal A, masses of the sample versus the volume of the sample, and the same kind of data for metal B. And I would like to plot mass versus volume for both of these metals on the same graph to compare them. So let's do that one at a time. So we're going to select one set of data. So I'm going to click and drag to select that set of data. I'm just going to do the data set right here. Then we're going to go up to the Insert menu right here. And we're going to find the Charts area. And then we're going to click on this little button for XY scatter graphs. And we're going to select this one that's just the dots. There we go. So there's a graph. It's inserted it. It needs a little bit of formatting, but we will take care of that. First, we want to make sure the data looks like what we want. So it looks like it's plotted mass on the x-axis and volume on the y-axis. And that's kind of like the way I have it laid out here. But you know what? I think I would really like volume to be the x-axis and mass to be the y-axis. So anytime you want to change something about your data set that's plotted or add some extra data to a plot, where you need to go is the Chart Tools, Design tab, and the Select Data button. So Select Data is your home base for changing anything you want about the data and the way it is graphed. So we're going to select the data here. That brings up a dialog box. So if we select this first set of data, volume 1, and we want to change something about it, we're going to click Edit. So first is the series name. So this is where it's getting its name, and apparently it's named at volume. Well, that's not very useful. So let's call it perhaps Metal A. So I can do that either by typing it in, MET, like that, but I can also get it by selecting a cell that is labeled. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to click on this little button right here, and it's asking me to input the series name cell label. So I'm just going to go over here and click on that, and it selected that cell as our new series label, the series name. Next, I want to select the X values. So right now it has A3 through A8. If you click on this cell, it will show all that to you. But what I want to do is get rid of all that and change that to cell B3 through B8. So I've done that. There we go. And now I need to select this set of data. So I'm going to click on this button right here, go over here and make this, the mass data, my Y values. So there we go. So now I've changed the X and the Y values, and that all looks good. Here's some data now. So I'm going to click on OK, and that takes us back to this dialog box. Now we would like to add our second set of data so that we can compare it. So how do we do that? Well, we just click on this Add button right here. That will let us add a new data set. So this is asking us to edit the series. So what's the series name? Well, I'm going to select the Metal B cell right here. Click this button to return. We need to select the X values. So the X values are going to be volume. Click to return. The Y values are going to be mass. And click to return. Now we should see, yes, two linear data sets. So that looks great. We're going to click on OK. And there we go, back to this dialog box. And now we're going to click OK. So now we've got the two data sets plotted. Let's do a little bit of formatting. So I'm going to go up here to the Click Layout tab. And you can pick any of these layouts. I kind of like this first one as an option. So it gives you a chart title, axis titles, and legends, and then it just shows you horizontal lines here for these different levels. So I'm going to double click on this axis title and select all of that and change that to mass. Always give it a unit in grams. Then my x-axis title, I want to select all that, and we're going to call that volume and give it a unit label, milliliters in this case. Good. So the last thing that I need to do, since these are linear functions, let's go ahead and find the equations of the lines that pass through these data points, and also draw in the line so it's easy to see what's going on. So I'm just going to point my mouse at one of these data points, and then I'm going to right-click my mouse. It'll bring up a pop-up, and it says Add Trend Line. So I'm going to add trend line to that data. Over here it gives me some options for the trend line. I want a linear function, so I'm going to click on linear. And then I also want to show the equation. So down here I'm going to click Display Equation on Chart, and I want to see how good the linear fit is. So I'm going to say Display R squared value on the chart. And the R squared value is 1 because I manufactured this data, so it is very linear. Second, we're going to click on this data set, right-click on this blue data set, and do the same thing. So we're going to add a trend line. We want it to be linear. We want to display the equation on the chart and display the r-squared value. Then we can click and drag on that equation to put it sort of near that line. And so now you can see that there are two lines, the linear model for metal A and metal B, and we've got our equations and the data going through those lines. And so you can see, comparing metal A and metal B, that they are both linearly increasing functions, but that they have different slopes. Their intercepts are all about, but not quite, 0. So that's the way that we can put two data sets on one graph. Give this a title, and we're all done. So mass versus volume is a safe title, but you could also name it something like comparing metals A and B, or some such. So that's how you put two data sets on one graph in Microsoft Excel.